Thanks for tuning in to another edition of OJ in the Morning. I'm Johnny Matthew alongside Owen Shattuck. We have another jam-packed show for you today. Start off, as always, with our congratulations. Get into some Super Bowl talk. What ads paid off? What ads didn't pay off? What play calls paid off? What play calls didn't pay off? And we'll update you on the NBA trade deadline and some MLB. Let's roll.
Let's go.
So our predictions worked out well.
No, they didn't.
No, well, your dad's worked out well. Sam's worked out well. They both hit. Matt Satilli picked the Bengals, right? Or did he go Rams? I don't know. We had a good conversation with him. It's good. That's what I remember from it.
Of course.
Conversations. We're gonna start off with our congratulations. I have two, so I'm gonna go first and last. My first congratulations. Super Bowl ads. LeBron James had his little future self ad where it would be funny if he was making fun of himself, but everybody else makes like he does these Instagram posts like, if I was gonna tell my old self like congrats on winning the points, it's just he's a cringy guy. It was a cringy ad. He didn't really play along with the joke, and congrats LeBron. Like you won the bubble tournament. It wasn't a real NBA ring that year. Not a lot of people. A lot of people agree with me on that. Nobody wants you in this parade. So, congratulations, LeBron, for just being you. I'm so proud of you.
My congratulations this week goes once again. I think they might be a 3-timer for my congratulations to Major League Baseball. And this week, it's not wanting to pay minor leaguers. You're trying to end a lockout that supports both you and the players, and you're proposing that you don't pay minor leaguers. Really? How does that solve anything? So congratulations for really, really trying to make April 1st opening day. Congrats to you for trying your quote unquote hardest. It's getting to a point of no avail, and this is getting ridiculous.
Yep. This is being posted, on Thursday. We're recording on Wednesday, which was supposed to be the day where every MLB club officially had their major leaguers report to spring training. A lot of it was Monday and Tuesday, but who knows? We can talk. Well, we will talk about some of the issues later, not just expanded playoffs like we talked about before, but we'll get into some more nitty gritty stuff. But it won't be boring. It is all interesting, at least to us, and it's going to be a genuine conversation. My second congratulations goes to Shailene Woodley's engagement ring. It is reported today in Page 6, TMZ, some other outlets, I think, where is it? In Touch Weekly reported Wednesday that the Divergent star and NFL MVP have called off their engagement after nearly 2 years together. Owen, what does nearly 2 years mean?
Not 2 years.
Less than 2 years. So that means the engagement ring didn't even last that long. If they got along, she would have more rings than Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
But it didn't. Hope they're both happy and live a great life. Just not together, I guess. It's not going to happen together. So congratulations to her engagement ring. Maybe she gave it back to him. Maybe he'll use it on his next failed relationship. Let's get into the Super Bowl.
I was gonna say, at least somebody won a ring this week.
You start.
Well, I will start by saying this. The Rams, congratulations for winning the Super Bowl, but what a hell of a year for the Cincinnati Bengals. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thought that they would be not only in the AFC Championship, but champions of the AFC, competing for the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow had an outstanding comeback year. He won Comeback Player of the Year. Didn't care about the trophy, but it was a good game. Some of their calls were questionable. They clearly didn't look like they had been there before. We'll get into more of that in a minute, but I think that's how I want to start this. And also on the other side, Matt Stafford did it. He gets out of Detroit. He wins his ring. Matt Shattuck's very happy. The Detroit fans are very happy for him. Obviously, they would want to see him win one with them, but it didn't happen. And then obviously, we'll talk about this, but Aaron Donald had a great game. Cooper Kupp came through again, and the Rams are Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, let's start with Stafford. So all those years in Detroit, playing hurt, not a lot of guys. His best weapon quit on the team. Not on him, I don't think.
No,
Maybe
I
he
think it
did,
was a
but
friend.
it was
Calvin
more
Johnson was
on
disgusting
the
the
team,
Panthers.
obviously. His wife had brain surgery a couple years ago. He had his girls up on the stage. They were all ready for the post game ceremony, and then NBC thought the Olympics that nobody's watching is more important. They got his little interview with Catherine Tappan after the game, but on the stage, this guy's been playing for 13 years. He's a fan favorite. Both QBs are fan favorites. He's a fan favorite, family guy, great for the game, great for the network. You're telling me what I want to watch? You're telling me I want to watch the Olympics? I don't want to watch the Olympics. The Olympics are at an all-time low right now. And the Super Bowl, the NFL is constantly peaking. Look,
112.
look at my notes right here. Look, where is the NFL?
I don't know. What
NFL up, Olympics down.
And I put this in our little document here, but
I know what I want to watch. I changed the channel. I want to watch post-game coverage for the biggest event of the year.
Biggest event of the year is
not the Olympics. The Olympics is not the biggest event of the year.
Can I speak now? Or are you going to keep going? I didn't know. You just keep pausing and letting me. Okay, great. The Super Bowl was the most viewed event in 5 years at 112.3 million views. Yes, I want to watch that more than the Super Bowl. More than the Olympics. So does a lot of America. So does a lot of the world.
Besides LA. Yep, not in the top 10 for their ratings. Detroit was actually the number 2 market on the list. It went Cincinnati, Detroit, Boston was in the top 10 in there. Philly, New York, Philly, Boston were in the top 10 markets. LA, I don't know what the excuse is there. All the fans were at a restaurant. No, that's not the case because that happens with every city. I'm sure a bunch of Detroit fans.
Maybe they were watching the Olympics.
Who knows?
I actually thought about doing the Olympics for my star graduation just because I literally do not know. This is the first year I really don't know what's happening in the Olympics, and usually
part of that is the NFL.
Yeah, and the USA lost hockey lost last night. That was the only thing I know, and they barely talked about that. So,
another programming thing is get The Rock off the field.
What was that?
He did a live hype video that should have been the first take of maybe 30 takes. Because that wasn't his movies are better than that. So so how many takes, if that's the first take on a hype video,
that had to be
how long does it take to make these movies?
Well, the thing is that they usually do Buffer, what the Let's Get Ready to Rumble. Is it Bruce Buffer? Is that a guy?
Is that what they do every Super Bowl?
No, they do it every game. They do Let's Get Ready to Rumble. So it was weird
the Rams do.
Yeah, the Rams do. So that was weird that they chose The Rock to do this. I don't know.
The players were on the field. The 22 starting special teams kickoff players were on the field, and The Rock was just, all right, this isn't good. To the game, Stafford. I'm going to start with, he hit Cooper Kupp a lot. He hit OBJ. It looked like they were having no trouble at all until OBJ unfortunately tore his ACL.
So tough.
But that no-look pass from Matt Stafford puts Patrick Mahomes to shame.
That was something.
Patrick Mahomes does it for the TikTok. Stafford does it to win Super Bowls.
I mean, Jackson Mahomes does it for the TikTok. I don't think Patrick Mahomes wants.
I think Patrick Mahomes does his no-look passes for zero reason sometimes, and it backfires.
He had the very first one he did was cool, but he keeps trying to do it, and now he throws interceptions, so it's not cool anymore. But Stafford did it in the biggest part of the game, and it was exceptional.
Stafford did it. You can literally see clips up here right now. You can literally see him moving the DB to make Kupp. He threw Kupp open. He looked Kupp open. He used his eyes and body perfectly, and then slung it across like Brett Favre. It's beautiful. And Mahomes does these no-look passes to these guys are wide open, and there's no point to do the no-look pass. You can literally watch.
No, exactly. I agree.
You can watch the Instagram highlight. You can watch the SportsCenter highlight, the All 22, whatever technical highlight you need. You can watch them all. He doesn't need to do some of these no look passes. Therefore, it's for show. That's why I say it's for TikTok. It's for show. Okay. Stafford did it. He made some other great plays too. I don't know any takeaways from the Rams offense, because I do have a lot to say about the Bengals too. But the Rams offense, towards the end of the game, there were the penalties, but then they did the little boot out to the right, and it was just they drew up the old Deshaun Watson to Hunter Renfro,
Yeah,
except it was Stafford to Cooper Kupp, and it was that drive was just an all-time drive, and it's what Stafford and so many QBs on bad teams have been trying to prove. Hey, I can do it here, and he did it there.
agreed. And I will say it was very ticky tacky of the refs to come in at the very last minute and own the game. It had been a very good, well called football game right up until the last couple of minutes there. I don't think it really changed much. I think the Rams would have scored anyway, but
Well,
I don't know. That pass interference call was
it would have been
questionable, or the holding, whatever it was.
It would have been 4th and 8 though if it weren't for the holding call.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so yeah, I mean,
and then there was the face mask earlier.
well, yeah, the face mask, that was, yeah. So I
it's
guess
kind of like 1-1.
It wasn't. That was definitely not the worst ref Super Bowl ever, but it was very interesting of the refs to kind of come in at the last minute and make.
Well, it defeats the purpose of quote unquote letting them play.
Yeah, true. If you're just
and some people say, "Oh, it's not letting them play; it's being good." No, it's letting the boys play. And there's no point in letting them play if you're gonna. Yes, that was a pass interference on Kupp. He literally, like, his hands were not able to be outstretched. His body was not able to extend the play before the touchdown. But the holding call, I mean, that wasn't a holding. Obviously, you can look at it. It wasn't a hold. And you keep the laundry in the dryer for 58 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's that doesn't matter because you got a ticky-tack call that affected the game. And yes, it was 1-1, so that's the only argument against.
Yeah, that's the only argument against, is you missed a face mask earlier on Higgins. But and the thing too, like we talked about the Rams offense, but I mean, we knew for a fact that the Bengals offensive line would not be able to contain Aaron Donald, and the last play of the game proved that. And we'll put it up here, but he was a monster in that game. And I think there's an argument that he could have deserved Super Bowl MVP more than Kupp. Like,
you ready for this one though?
Sure.
Which I forgot at the moment. They put the MVP votes in before the 2-minute warning.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that's yes, true. Kupp caught the touchdown after the 2-minute warning, but Donald may have made even bigger. I don't know. I mean, there's an argument for both.
Well, really, I don't.
I thought it was going to be Donald.
Did Malcolm Butler win MVP the year that?
No.
I thought he did. I thought he won Super Bowl MVP that year.
Brady won it.
Oh, okay.
And I think Brady may have given him the truck.
Oh, that was it. That was it. Yeah, you're right.
James White won it. I mean, James White should have probably won it too, although it's the best comeback ever. But I don't think the voters had the last 2 minutes or OT or any of that.
That's true. Okay, you're right. Yeah.
And you can say it about a lot of Super Bowls, but it is dumb how the last 2 minutes it changes almost every Super Bowl.
But I mean, here's the thing, and I think Aaron Donald was the best player on the field for a lot of the game, and that's kind of where it's like.
All right, so let's get a little technical. Both teams, extremely subpar, borderline horrible rushing performances.
That was my next point. Is the Rams run game was horrible all the playoffs. You bring Cam Akers back off of his torn ACL, and he barely, not only touches the field, but barely touches the ball. And on the other side, why is Samaje Perine in the last drive of the game when Joe Mixon's been the guy all year? And Mixon wasn't great, but he's still your number one option at running back, and he's sitting on the bench while Perine's getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's like, when does it hurt to have your best players on the field? Exactly. Is it that hard to ask? I tweeted at the end of the game, I was like, don't really have a dog in the fight like we've been saying for 2 weeks. I know I won't say it anymore, but it's true. We didn't really have a dog in the fight. I was rooting for the Bengals, but I didn't really care. How am I mad that Stafford won? But I didn't want it to come down to just borderline stupidity.
Exactly. And it came down, it came down to inexperience. It came down to inexperience in the Super Bowl.
And is it an experience? because the Rams the week prior, Kyle Shanahan's an experienced head coach, and they didn't really use Debo much in the fourth quarter. Like the Rams kind of got away with that there and got away with the use of they didn't have to play Debo late and they didn't have to play the dual threat of Mixon late.
I'm not saying there's
No,
multiple
I know what you
reasons
mean.
why the
I know what you
Bengals
mean.
lost this game, but inexperience I think can be because Zach Taylor, you don't put Mixon on the field really. I don't know. It just or you don't double team Donald in the last play of the game or whatever. It's
Right. All right. Yes. Great point. Great point. Pause on that. They contained Donald pretty well with the triples and doubles, and Burrow got the ball out. And yes, Von Miller, would get to him. Somebody would get to him, but they said, hey, let's make someone else beat us. You're going to hear me say that. You've already heard me say it a million times. You're going to hear me say that a million more times, whether it's baseball, basketball, hockey, football, podcasting, the Futures League, whatever. Don't let they knew, for example, the Bengals knew Cooper Kupp was coming. They still let him score.
Yep.
In the first half, the Bengals knew Aaron Donald was coming.
Yeah.
They did you saw him get triple team. They NBC loved showing it, rightfully so. But then, then you're single teaming him, and it's just like, okay, that's why you triple teamed. They knew. That's the whole thing. That's not inexperience. That's like, what are you doing? You knew what he can do. That's why you game planned the way we saw, and then you just didn't. You changed for.
The best part about that last play too is if there's a photo or a camera angle or something where if you look down the field while Joe Burrow's being tackled, Ramsey is on the ground and Jamar Chase is open while Burrow's getting tackled, which means the meme of Penei Sewell and being on the ground. It actually came true, and I'll put it up here because I want to find it. But
it's almost like maybe make a meme too, where it's like, if you triple teamed him like you did in the first half, Ramsey falls again. Or like the beginning of the second half, on that T. Higgins touchdown. I don't know why that game plan changed late. I don't know why. Yeah, is it inexperience? Yes, but it's also just the overthinking or underthinking or something with the strategy. It's just mixing. You got to put your best players on the field in the biggest situations. You also on the 4th and 1 to end the game, just run the ball there.
Yeah.
Go in shotgun. At least make them think you're gonna run it.
Yeah, that was a very confusing.
I hate it. Like what are you doing there? Like that was Pete Carroll-esque. Was it not?
Yeah, it was. I mean, wasn't P. Ryan on the field too?
Yep, exactly.
Just
at least go under center, put Mixon back there. Maybe put both back there, maybe put a fullback back there. If you really want to pass, then at least you have them guessing.
Yeah. Again, the game was a very good game, and then questionable coaching derailed the Bengals' chances and gave the Rams the win. And I think that at the end of the day, that was kind of what defined the game for me.
Mm-hmm.
And here, it was the close game we wanted. It was exactly what we hoped for, which was a one possession game. We'll talk about that more a little bit later, but we got the good game. We got to see what the Bengals were made of, and we got to see the super team Rams. They traded for Stafford. They traded for Von Miller. They traded for OBJ. They put all their eggs in one basket, and that basket ended up popping out a Super Bowl. So, again, congrats to Stafford. Congrats to the Rams. They're Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, congrats to the Rams. So, we see a path for the Rams to be back in the Super Bowl. In the playoffs, at least, contending.
Agreed.
We see a path for Cincy to contend again.
That's a tough path, though.
You're kind of speaking to my point here. I hate when people say they'll be back.
No,
they'll be back. They probably won't. I think they will. But if we're going off the last 10, 20 years, they probably won't, actually.
Because here's the thing. In the NFC, you just had Brady retired. You have no idea what's going on with the Saints. You have no idea what's going on with the Cardinals or the Seahawks or the Niners. It's all a bunch of question marks in the NFC. The AFC has Mahomes. It's got Josh Allen. It's still got Justin Herbert. It's got whatever. I don't know. We don't know what happens with the Pats. We don't know what happens with the Raiders.
You can keep going though.
I'm,
Like that's the
I'm forgetting teams, but like, oh, teams in your own division. We don't know what
exactly you're forgetting. Like that just goes to show.
it's
Like
just the AFC is loaded, and it's going to be tough to beat Allen and Mahomes every single year for if you're Cincinnati. But the one advantage I give them is they have 51 or so $1 million in cap space. They can spend it on their offensive line, which is their biggest need. Unsure some things on defense, maybe getting rid of Eli Apple, for example. And yes, they can be a contender, but it's going to be mad hard. It's going to be very hard for them
I think
to back and compete for the AFC.
so. I think their GM should be executive of the year. I think their who won. I say this for a sec. I'm gonna look up actually. Executive of the year.
Did they announce that?
I think in the future he should because James 2020 2021 oh, did they not do it
I guess they don't do it.
That was NBA. I'm an idiot. Belichick got the 2021. Oh, he did. PFWA Executive of the Year award.
Cool.
Vrabel was the coach. Oh wow, Belichick won Executive of the Year. Cool. I mean, very deserving.
Makes sense. E3, yeah.
Except for the Johnny Smith. Next year, if the Bengals are back in contention, I'm not saying in the Super Bowl, in contention, that means, divisional round, within a game or two of the AFC North as like they can be a wild card and they can still be contenders.
Yep.
It's very simple what they need to do. They need to A, draft an A, sign an alignment. B, draft an alignment. C, sign a DB. D, draft a DB. And then
draft more.
How many letters is that? E. Rob Gronkowski said he wants to play for you too. So that's simple. And if he wins Executive of the Year next year, if they do some of this stuff, they win Executive of the Year next year. That is for, his work the last 4 years, which is a crazy, write a book about it turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
But, this year in 2020, the 2022-23 season, it's like, that's what you need to do. Everybody knows you need to do it. The Chiefs just did it. The Chiefs rebuilt their O-line.
Yep. 100%.
It's doable. And hey, draft, sign, one each. People want to play with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Agreed.
But the Rams, I mean.
So I was gonna say the other side of that coin is the Rams, who've got Von Miller, OBJ,
Okonkwo, OBJ pending free agent,
Brian Allen,
or his ACL.
Yeah, all these guys are pending free agents, and the Rams are gonna have work to do too to sign all these guys back. And
they need to. They're probably gonna have to give Donald more money, even though he signed.
They have no cap. They wasted all of their money.
Right, but there are ways around that.
No, of course there are.
There'll be. That's why I still don't understand the NFL cap.
Yeah, the NFL cap is weird, but if things could get ugly for the Rams if they don't keep winning, but I have a feeling that they're going to be right near the top for a long time because of the way that they set themselves up. And this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, McVay knows how to add a little bit of a run game. Yep. Sony Michel is not the answer to that. Akers, I mean, he was off an injury earlier. We'll see if he's back with them next year. We'll see what the offseason contains. We'll see what they do in the draft because, they have some late round pick. They have a decent amount of picks despite not having a first rounder until maybe BC plays Alabama next decade. But there's a path for both of these teams to be back. 100%. With that being said, though, I hate when people say that. Because look at the Seahawks. Look at Russell Wilson.
They're not back.
Look at Colin Kaepernick. Like look at Mahomes. They won one, and then people said they're going to win 5 or 6. They got embarrassed, and they haven't been back. Everybody besides the Patriots. Everybody besides Brady.
Yep.
What do you think of the ads?
I think it was an off year for the ads.
I think it was an underwhelming.
There were some good ones, but it was very underwhelming.
Underwhelming game, underwhelming halftime show, underwhelming ads for me. I liked the halftime show.
I liked the halftime. I liked the halftime show, but I think each of them should have had one more song. I liked the game, but again, I was disappointed by the refs throwing the laundry right at the end. And
Yeah.
yeah, I thought the ads stunk. I thought I liked the whatever the Coinbase one with the like the
Yes. The Michael Scott,
and the
screensaver.
but yeah, otherwise, I think it was just an off year for the
So
ad.
the thing with the halftime show is like, why do you need all of them? Like split it up for next year too.
True. You could have, yeah.
That would have been so
Well,
sick.
because they have a
If
lot of songs to like, they all have a lot of songs together. So I feel like it was like,
if Dr. Dre or all right, so it's all right, so Snoop Dogg, Dre, and Eminem, right?
yeah,
You got to give Snoop LA. That's why I'm saving him, and then Dre and Eminem they go together. Why not? Each of them doing two songs would have been crazy, and then
yeah.
save
I wish
Kendrick
Eminem
for.
sang more than just one song, and
Then
Kendrick.
yeah, obviously Kendrick's LA too, but then you gotta
After Kendrick sang too.
there it was too much, and then that just they all got to do one song, right?
Yeah,
Or and then 50 Cent. I don't know.
yeah.
It's like it
50,
would have been
50
a lot cooler if three of them did two songs and then three of them were back next year or whenever it's in California or wherever. I know a lot of this is geographical, but it'll be in Arizona next year. Does that mean?
Is it in Arizona? Yeah, okay.
Which I don't. It feels like it's there every 3 years.
Yep.
Um, when's it gonna be in Vegas? Like, isn't that
It's 2020. I think that's next. I think that's 24.
finally? I mean, that should have been next year probably, but who knows? But with the ads, it was underwhelming. They weren't that funny. It's not cool when you get a celebrity in the ad anymore, unless it's literally last year Bruce Springsteen because he's known not to do ads.
Yeah.
It's not cool to get a celebrity anymore. You need to be funny. You need to be creative. Congrats to Netflix. Congrats, guys. Congratulations. Netflix is on the hot seat.
Yeah. Everybody's kicking their butt.
Everybody talks about these networks, right? They're like, oh, when's it going to go back? That they're going to get some control. They're back. Peacock, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, HBO. These guys have all been around forever. That's nothing new. Hulu and Netflix are they don't have a lot of great stuff right now. What do you watch on Netflix?
It's
Do you
been,
have Netflix?
I do have
Like,
Netflix, but it's been a while since I've watched something on there.
there's no Office or Friends.
No.
There's no Sunny in Philadelphia. I never got to
I know
watch
New
that while
Girl
it
is
was on
popular.
Netflix.
That's the one thing that I know everybody's watching on there. But otherwise, there's
What? Say it again.
New Girl is popular on there. But that's the only thing I know.
Okay, New Girl. What? Breaking Bad.
True. Breaking
So
Bad.
that's fair. Okay, that's a good show. I've never gotten around to watching that, but I know the gist. It's a good show.
Yeah.
I think it's they're just trying to stay relevant, and I don't think a $6 million commercial or whatever it was helps with that.
Yep.
They're on the hot seat. I like. I mean, I sign into my dad's account on Netflix, but if it was me, I would no longer have a Netflix subscription.
Yeah. It's they're getting their Hulu is better, HBO Max is better, Paramount Plus is better, Disney Plus is better.
Like, so HBO Max has, they have Friends, they have a bunch of movies and everything, but HBO has been around. You know what I mean? This isn't this. Yes, you need to pay this separate streaming subscription, but it's nothing new. HBO's been around forever.
Yeah.
And then I get Peacock through my Wi-Fi for for my apartment here, but I would if I were to choose like two streaming services, like Peacock would be one of them. One of them would not be Netflix or Hulu. So Netflix, like, thanks for the run.
Wait, not you wouldn't choose Hulu either?
I don't know. I mean, I'd consider HBO, but Paramount Plus has so much stuff too.
Yeah.
Yellowstone for one, which I'm getting into, but I know that's not for everyone. I know.
2050.
They have South Park, but they also have, you can watch these NFL games on there, and they're just these perks that, and Netflix, it's not like, oh, support your small business. No, Netflix is this massive company that
Is getting their butt kicked.
it's it's kind of fun to see the downfall, honestly. Because they took a bunch of our money and tried to change the world, and now we're kind of ruined because we're all stuck paying these subscriptions that we already thought we had. because NBC's on cable, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't even get ads really.
No.
Like, so yeah, you show off your new electric Silverado. You show off your new. I get the crypto ads because they're competing for everyone's money currently, but all these other companies, it's like, what do you. I don't know. Like, yeah, okay, I get the movie commercials. Like, people are gonna now 80, 112 million people know there's your movies coming out. But it's kind of sad the NFL ad was the best ad, and that's the only one
Yeah.
I can really remember besides the screensaver one, which is very clever.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's interesting, but it is
Tough
what
year
it is.
for ads.
Yeah, tough year for ads.
All right, now we're going to get into some of our weekly segments. We're going to go start with our exactly what we thought of the week. Owen, what's yours?
Well, I mentioned this earlier, and I mentioned this the last episode too, but this has been easily the greatest NFL playoffs that I've ever witnessed, and maybe potentially ever. And I love, and I exactly knew that this game had to end on a one possession game. 23-20 was the final score. It was a one score game. It was a pretty good Super Bowl. Obviously, we already talked about it and drained it out, but I exactly thought that the Super Bowl would be a good game and a one possession game, and it was. You?
Yeah, the Bengals covered, and it, I guess that final drive capped off the best playoffs ever.
100%.
My exactly what we thought of the week is the MLB is still locked out, and even more specifically, not surprised at all by them trying to not pay the minor leaguers. I mean, it's just it never gets old. Nothing can surprise you anymore. They're trying to first of all cut a bunch of minor leaguers, but second of all, they're trying to, not pay them for spring training and saying they're trainees as if, oh, and you work at Tavern in the Square. Like, when you're training, you get paid.
Yep. You get paid.
So I don't know. Next up is the disappointment of the week. My disappointment of the week. We just talked about it. The ads. Not to. I didn't laugh. I don't remember a lot of them.
Yeah, that's fair. And my disappointment of the week was top college basketball teams. We're talking a little college hoops here. Kentucky, Providence, and Michigan State basketball, especially, all lost last night. It's been a tough week for top teams in the country, and Michigan State in particular lost to a 10-12 Penn State team, and so I'm very sad about that. I'm very disappointed, and that is my disappointment of the week.
Yeah, one top basketball team not too disappointing right now. Purdue's on a good run. They took down Ohio State a couple weeks ago. They're just on a good streak right now, playing great Big Ten basketball. They took down Illinois last week. And they a little hiccup against Michigan, but they beat Maryland on Sunday before the Super Bowl, and they had a Super Bowl champ actually, and one of the Rams players was a Boilermaker.
Yeah, the Sparty had two Super Bowl had Brian Allen, the center, as a Super Bowl champion. So congratulations to those guys from our Big Ten schools of rooting for.
And what's your surprise of the week? You have a good one.
I can't believe, like, it's more, again, this is more of a shock and in times of craziness. But so Van Jefferson wins the Super Bowl, and we're gonna play this video in a minute, but he finds out that his wife is having a baby and he needs to corral his kids and leave the stadium. And we're playing this video now. This is exceptional.
Can I get oh my goodness, I haven't got a.
Your wife's giving birth right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Mommy's gonna have a baby. We gotta go. Where chest, maybe. Yeah, mommy's gonna have your brother. Mommy's gonna have your brother. We gotta get to the hospital. You ready? Yeah, we gotta go quick. Yeah.
But why do you have to go quick, Daddy?
Because she's having a baby.
I mean, that's insane.
They're like, why?
They're like, why? I don't want to leave. And he's
Why
like,
do we? Who?
Who? What?
Like,
what's a baby?
And he's just like, it's like, holy shit! Like, should he just go to the hospital in his pads?
Yeah, the way he kept it together was insane. So
watching, I mean, obviously it's expected, and he's kind of half prepared for it, but it's like, okay, like it's time to go. It's like literally the biggest day of your life.
Have a day, Van Jefferson. Have a day
for those two reasons. And he got the ring. My surprise of the week. So this crypto ad that we're talking about is up and down, hits the corner. Not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by the amount of money crypto spent on, their 30-second spots. I'm surprised that they're this new age, new technology, modern, futuristic, and their website crashes. That company that did that particular crypto company that like you got to prepare for that. The whole point is to get people to go to your website. That's literally the ad, and then it crashes. That's what I'm surprised about.
Yeah.
I expected more out of them. On to the MLB lockout. It continues. It looms. Like we said, spring training was supposed to start. It did not. But there's been some updates since we've last talked about it. Obviously, last week we had to talk about the Super Bowl the whole time. We had a little expanded playoffs debate a couple weeks ago. Check out episode 4 for that of OJ in the Morning on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Now Evan Drellick of the Athletics reporting that they don't want to pay the minor leaguers during spring training to do their job.
I talked about this off the top. This is getting absolutely ridiculous. You are trying to come to an agreement with players who have all pretty much come through the minor leagues, and now you're saying you don't want to pay minor leaguers. How does that solve anything? How does that get us any closer to an April 1st opening day? I don't understand what the MLB's plan is. They have these billionaire owners who are being a bunch of cheapos and won't cough up the cash that they have to get the season started to make more money. I just, and now I don't know.
It's really good. I won't gloss over the fact that, this year, 2022, minor leaguers will be provided housing. That's huge. They don't need to sleep. Well, actually, I don't know this, but they used to, all split a place. Like 6 of them would split a 1-bedroom studio or something. And, things would go viral when one of them would make it big. But what are those other 6 guys doing?
Yeah.
Or 5 guys or whatever. You see these viral, these less than school lunch, smaller than school lunch trays of, a fish sandwich with literally like a piece of fish and like there would be a cheese sandwich. It's like they get treated awfully. New Kansas City Royals president of baseball ops, Dayton Moore, who's been with the Royals for a couple decades, I believe. He was quoted this week. I'm going to give @Alec Lewis credit for this one. He was quoted a couple years ago saying this, quote, "Understand this. Minor league players, the players you'll never know about, the players that never get out of rookie ball or high A, those players have as much an impact on the growth of our game as 10-year or 15-year veteran players. They have as much opportunity to influence the growth of our game as those individuals who played for a long time, because those individuals go back into their communities and teach the game, work in academies, are JUCO coaches, college coaches, scouts, coaches in pro baseball. They're growing the game constantly because they're so passionate about it. So we felt it was really, really important to not release, one minor league player during this time, a time we need to stand behind them." This was during the pandemic when, a lot of these minor league guys weren't paid at all. And that's really important to them. And you and I know this firsthand.
I was just going to say, we work for a league where these guys are, unfortunately, they didn't make it. They didn't have their dreams come true, but they're making a huge impact in the Futures League, in the NACBL, and the Cape League, coming back and coaching these players and helping them and training them to be better at baseball. And yet they're getting disrespected by the big guys. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And, we even noticed it before then. Like, look what Frank Niles did for the game of baseball. Look what Nick DeVito did for the game of baseball. These are 2 of our coaches at Hingham High School. Matt Henriksen, Joe Carley are like these guys. These are all some of our high school coaches that, we still talk to some of them today. They still, Nick texted me over the summer like, hey, no, he texted Eddie Bowler, who's a Hingham High grad, like, hey, like, you have a job now. But he was giving this kid a lesson, and he was like, hey, text Johnny. It's like, all right. And I made a few $100 off of that. Like, that was awesome. I was just teaching a kid baseball lessons. But it's just, that sounds so dumb, but it goes so much further. And if I wanted a job in his field, he'd absolutely help me or write me a recommendation. And it's just like, it's those connections. Like I still talk to, he's the Hingham High School principal, so it might sound weird, but like I still talk to Coach Swanson all the time. He was, just one of those college players. And no, he didn't play after college or anything, but DeVito and other coaches did, and other AU coaches did, and they absolutely grow the game more. Sorry, they're not Big Poppy and A-Rod who are on TV for the month of October, having fun getting told what to say, but these guys don't get told what to say, and they grow the game on their own in their own ways. And like you said, all summer long, we saw it, and you've seen it for the last, you've been there for 3 summers, but yeah, it's just crazy. And we're about to talk to someone right now that's growing the game. And, she was a college softball player, and she's grown the game of baseball. So it's, I don't know, that's just, I'm glad I really saw that quote. Sorry, I'll give credit where credit is due. That was from Alec Lewis he's a Kansas City Royals beat reporter for The Athletic. So thanks for sharing that screenshot the other day, Alec. But you got to pay these players in spring training. It's insane. They already don't get paid enough.
Yeah, they already don't get paid enough. They don't get respected enough, and it's time to cough that up. Another big rule that went through this week, or potentially went through this week, universal DH. Johnny, as a pitcher, and I guess as a fan of the game, what do you think?
As a pitcher, I suck at hitting. In the batter's box, I think I can, teach some little leaguers, teach them some low-level high school kids a thing or two about, an approach or how to hit, maybe just from a pitcher's perspective. But and I know, general swing mechanics, but oh my gosh, like, we get a couple viral moments a year, maybe. That's the only reason some of these people want
I agree.
No DH in the NL.
100%. And here's the thing.
Because Bartolo.
I have 2 points about that. One, you said it. There's a couple of like Bartolo Colon hitting a home run and Rick Porcello having a bases loaded or bases clearing double are the only 2 reasons why I would want a DH. And I don't. Or sorry, no DH.
And you're smart enough to admit that's stupid.
Exactly. It's stupid.
That's why I like
it. As an American League team, it is unfair that you set your lineup for the year based on the fact that you have a DH, and then you have to go into a National League park and play a designated hitter at first base and basically bump everybody down to either the bench or a spot they don't want to be in because the 9th hitter has to be a pitcher who's just going to strike out. It's 2 games. It creates a disadvantage, and I'm glad that there's finally agreement to give universal DH a try or a permanent. It's time. And for the traditionalists out there, it doesn't really ruin baseball. And yeah, sure, it's some unique rule, but what is it doing besides providing more hitting, which is the reason the game is as high and as peaking as it is, because people like to see home runs now, which, I guess that's a fair weather fan. That's not really us, that.
And hey, now Shohei can just, if the Angels they'll never make the World Series. If he gets traded to a contender ever, or signs with the contender ever, they don't need to worry about it's good for,
and they can still do
ways.
that. Like I'm pretty sure I'm guessing that there's not going to be like you can't ever hit a pitcher. So if like Madison Bumgarner wants to chalk it up one day, he can. But I think it now that having the option to not is just, it's so much better.
Well, in the NL, it was funny. You saw Mad Bum pinch hit once in a while because he was better than the relief pitcher in the 8th inning, with all those double switches and what have you.
I'm glad that's
but now you don't need that.
Yeah.
And now you don't need to say, hey, Clayton, you're starting in 2 days in a big game.
You need a pinch hit.
You need a pinch hit or hey, Stephen Wright, go get hurt on third.
Slide into second base as a pinch runner and get hurt.
One thing though about the MLB, so I've said this before, I saw somewhere they need to start by March 1st to have the March 31st regular season opening day stay on schedule. It's
Do you-
looking like
do
it's
you-
not going to
Do
happen.
you think that can happen? Like, do you think that the players can start on March 1st with spring training and be ready for March 31st?
So that's a different question. I do think that absolutely. You know why? Bryce Harper didn't sign his big deal with the Phillies.
That's exactly why I asked you that question.
All the pitchers. So yes, the pitchers need some live reps. Obviously, they're getting their throwing in. They're getting conditioned now. They're getting.
Yeah, they're
their
probably
arms
doing
ready.
it right now. Exactly.
They're not maybe getting the live reps they want. They're not getting. You need some spring training games. You do.
Yeah.
You don't need
Some.
a month and a half worth.
No.
I don't even think you need a month's worth. My concern is once you get into the season, this is going to turn into 2020 all over again. Once you delay the season, this is going to turn into 2020 all over again. This number of games negotiation and salary, market share, what's the word? The owner versus players revenue share. It's going to be a whole new topic just for this year, not even to do with the new CBA, not even to do with the new agreement.
Yeah.
So it's just the issues are going to keep piling up as the lockout extends.
They've got 14 days till March 1st. They basically got 2 weeks to figure this out.
And then, I was listening to The Compound with Zach Short, a former future leaguer it's with Ian Happ, Zach Short, and one of their former teammates. I listened to it once. I got into it because we're trying to get Zach Short on our Futures League podcast. But they're talking about, he got called up last year, right?
Mhm.
These guys are all in the minors. These guys this is, I love the phrase straight from the source. This is straight from the source. They're giving the lockout. They're giving the minor league perspective. This straight from the source. These guys are the source. They know firsthand what's going on. And, he was like, yeah, we need to have the Rule 5 draft and other players need to get signed. But then that also, so there's a lot to do. And then, yeah, they need their reps. But, these guys they're all throwing in training right now. It's not like high schoolers who, if it's snowy outside, some of these guys can't get, even some college players, some college players can't get creative. They need to be told what to do. These guys don't need to be told what to do.
No.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Obviously. You agree.
Of course. Well, yeah. So I'll wrap up this, but here are my final thoughts. Pitchers and catchers were supposed to report this week, Monday and Tuesday. They aren't. We're sitting here and we're, I guess, officially locked out. We talked earlier about how it doesn't matter because it's not actually affecting the baseball schedule, but it now is.
Mm-hmm.
When we come out of it, when we come out of the lockout, there's going to be a lot of free agents that need to be signed. The rosters aren't going to be complete. It's going to be a fun period. It's going to be a good baseball news period, but this is just ruining a good, what the game had last year, which is a good bounce back year from COVID. And it's time to agree. It's time to get back on the field and it's time to let the boys play.
So another thing, the former U.S. Secretary of Labor, Rob Reich for Bill Clinton, was talking about negotiating when Clinton brought in Bud Selig, former MLB commissioner, to negotiate or try to mediate or try to get a mediator into the MLB versus MLBPA 1994 MLB strike situation. And he basically, in a 10-minute little podcast, he said that was a shit show. Marty Walsh, who's the current Secretary of Labor, former bad mayor of Boston, said, don't get involved, Marty Walsh, because, it's these guys, they're so powerful in and of themselves. And it's just this crazy thing. You can go check that out on his Twitter account if you want to. But he, where was I going with this? Oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. He was saying, oh, excuse me. Sorry. He was saying that, it was multimillionaires versus multimillionaires, which the general public doesn't care about. Do you agree with me on that? So but now this is 25 years later. It's multimillionaires versus multi-billionaires with a B as in boy.
Yep.
Multi-billionaires versus, millionaires. And actually, another thing on the Compound podcast was they were talking about these $100 million plus contracts. They were saying, yeah, there have only been 40 to 50 of those ever, and the majority of the league plays for less than $1 million a year. So actually, it's about revenue share and a lot of other stuff, including respect. And, yes, the public's going to side with the millionaires as long as the millionaires don't act like they are, these minor leaguers not getting paid. The minor leaguers not getting paid are allowed to act like that.
Yeah.
The millionaires aren't, the Blake Snells and, that fake adversity we talked about with the Chiefs and stuff. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Not that the public influences it at all. They don't seem to care about the fans too much right now.
Yep. The NBA trade deadline happened.
Did it?
It did.
When did the NBA season start?
Let's see. I want to say October, maybe.
Wow, it's been that long.
Yeah.
I should tune in.
You might want to. Yeah, again, my area of expertise than his, but biggest trade of the week, James Harden is a 76er. Ben Simmons and Seth Curry are Brooklyn Nets. Johnny, you had some thoughts on this trade?
I did. Why don't you go over the rest of the trades first? Because we'll save the little banter for last. You get your thoughts out first.
So we'll do general ones first. Biggest trades of the week. Kristaps Porzingis is traded from the Dallas Mavericks to the Washington Wizards for Spencer Dinwiddie. Very interesting that Dallas is done with Porzingis and are moving forward with Luka and Dinwiddie in the backcourt. It was a good run for the Mavs, but it wasn't because they didn't win anything. Kind of my sneakiest trade of the week, Serge Ibaka goes from the Clippers to the Milwaukee Bucks, adding to the Giannis regime, and that should be fun to watch in Milwaukee.
So do you think that'll help them make it further than they were originally going to make it?
I think, yes. I think it could because they're Well, after that, we'll get to the Harden trade in a minute, but I think Milwaukee surged to the biggest contender in the East after Brooklyn and Philly both blew it up.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that then when we talk about, okay.
Yeah, so I think, we'll talk about the East in a minute.
Rattle the rest
off. Log jammed it and all it keeps going. I think the weirdest trade of the week for me was the Kings and the Pacers made a deal. The Kings it's been a while since they've been anything, and Buddy Hield wasn't helping, but I think Tyrese Halliburton was, and they traded him to Indiana. And, the Kings aren't going to get much guys that are going, raw, I want to be in Sacramento. I love it here. And Halliburton was one of those guys. But they said, nope, we don't like you. They traded for Domantas Sabonis, who's a very good player, big, tall guy. He's going to make an impact there, but it will not help the Kings make the playoffs because they are bad. Indiana is also bad this year. Lakers and Knicks don't do anything. Very funny to me. I literally put LOL in my notes. I'm sure these are the two things, or at least the one thing we'll talk about besides the Harden trade. The Celtics make a lot of moves. They trade Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a first-round pick for Derek White of the San Antonio Spurs. And they bring Daniel Tice back from the Houston Rockets in exchange for Dennis Schroeder, Bruno Fernando, and Ennis Freedom. I very much like that the Celtics blew up the back of their bench. I don't necessarily think they needed to include their first-round pick.
I didn't mind Schroeder.
No,
I liked having him around.
I liked Schroeder and I liked Richardson, but I think what we got in return will make us better this year. We're focusing on defense. We're a very defensive-centered lineup, and Derek White makes that. And my last thing on those is Celtics. You have 3 open roster spots. Please use one of them on Isaiah Thomas. I'm begging you.
Just a 10-day.
It's so easy. You will draw so many people into the stadium if you just sign that man, including me.
There's no more Danny Ainge.
Sign Isaiah. It does not. Just please. Okay. Now we will go into more conversations, starting with Harden and Simmons. Ready, set, go.
Okay. Can you remember the day before the deadline, the day before these trades, where you saw at the end of the year how far these teams would make it? Where would the Nets end up? What round would they lose in or win in? And down the list of the top few other East teams.
Okay. I think that the teams that could have had a chance in the East are Miami, Chicago, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philly. I thought those were the 5. I think I don't think Brooklyn's a contender anymore. I think Philly's a top 4 team, but I don't think they're going to win a championship. And I think that
Who was going to win the East? Do you think? Do you think the Bucks had a great chance to win the East?
I think the Bucks have the best chance to win the East with Miami right behind them and Chicago right behind them, and then Philly. But Philly clearly proved last night when they lost by almost 50 to the Celtics that they can't do anything without Harden.
Right,
Harden,
but that game didn't. That was a stupid throwaway NBA regular season game. You can't just.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Here's the thing: if Harden is going to cramp up 4 times a month and he's going to pout and sit on the bench, and Embiid has to do this again, I think Embiid does. I think Harden, does want to be here. I think he wants to be in Philly, but I do believe that Harden's a quitter, Simmons is a quitter, Kyrie's a quitter, and I don't really think this trade benefited anybody. I think it benefited the Nets by getting Harden out of town and stopping him from quitting, but you added a quitter in Simmons.
Yeah, it's almost like you can look at it as they both won, but they also both kind of lost because Philly, a team that can't get it done in the playoffs, replaced a guy that can't get it done in the playoffs with another guy that can't get it done in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Am I right on all those bullet points?
And here's the other thing. Kyrie can't play half of the games because of a vaccine mandate. Durant's hurt, and Simmons is still not ready to play yet. It's just this trade made no sense to me. It could make sense in a couple months when both of these teams are contending, but I just do not imagine that these two teams.
So I think the Nets could win this trade because they have shooters.
Here's the thing about the Nets trade is they got
Simmons can dish it out and drive, right?
They get Seth Curry, which is an underrated part of this trade. He's been lights out for Philly this year, and putting him as a point guard they've got Patty Mills there, and they got a couple other guys like Joe Harris and whatever. But yes, I think the Nets can win this trade more than the Sixers could. But again, I don't believe this trade really benefited anybody, at least definitely right now. But I guess it's not all about
my whole thing with last night was like, obviously it's funny to watch Embiid lose. He's close to the top enemy wise for the Celtics fan base, as is Kyrie, as is, insert, there's a bunch of the Heat, but Simmons, he can pass it to KD, he can pass it to Kyrie, and he can drive himself. I think he's going to keep the Ben Simmons Brooklyn Nets are going to keep NBA defenses on their toes more than the James Harden Brooklyn Nets.
100%.
Does that make sense? Because
yes.
James Harden's just another perimeter guy most of the time, whereas Ben Simmons can add something that they didn't have as much. I could be totally wrong. Does that make sense?
Here's the other thing with the Nets, though, is the culture that they had already was toxic. But bringing in Simmons with half game, half season Kyrie, it's just not going to. It can't mesh. You can't possibly mesh that into a championship when you don't have a guy for at least 2 games, maybe even 3, maybe even 4 in a playoff series. You don't have a guy for 4 games. You have to keep switching up your game plan and your lineups, and it's got to mess with chemistry. And I don't imagine the Nets being a contender because of the Kyrie thing.
But they had to get rid of Harden, though.
I agree, because it never worked. The 3 of them never worked.
Right. So that's kind of like, it's like, all right, what are you going to do? Like, it's not like they had much of a choice there. I know Simmons isn't the best, team guy.
It's not the best replacement, but.
All right. So I'm going to list some teams. Give me a quick yes or no, and then we'll expand on it at the end. Can the Celtics beat this team in a 7-game series?
Who? Oh.
Miami.
No. Depends. I'm going to say depends because they have a lot of hurt. All of these teams are injured right now. So if they're fully healthy, no, I don't think they could beat Miami.
I'm just going
to Google.
All right, so no Miami. The Bucks.
No.
The Bulls.
Maybe.
The Cavs.
Yes.
Philly.
Yes.
Toronto.
Yes. 100%.
Charlotte.
Yes.
Atlanta.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't think, Chicago's so new and they have kind of a lack of experience, but they also have some experience. I think Chicago, they might have a better chance. Who is the 2 seed?
I think they have a better chance. They have a better chance.
How much I don't care about the NBA regular season.
They have a better chance of beating Chicago than they do Miami and the Bucks. I think Miami and the Bucks are the top 2 teams in the East for me. I think they can beat Brooklyn, and I think they can beat Philly.
I think they'd be Philly because Philly is known to choke. The 76ers,
and so is Brook, and I think Brooklyn's
like,
just
they're
gonna follow that
unfixable.
path.
Yeah, Brooklyn. If you're the Nets right now, they are they're the 8th seed, I believe. Where'd my tabs go? Jeez, I have too many tabs open. Right now the Nets are the 8th seed.
Yeah.
I think they should stay right there. Oh no. Wait, I'm an idiot. Oh yes, no, they should stay right
Well,
there
they get the
because
play in.
Kyrie cannot play game 7 if they're the top seed.
Yeah. If they're a top 4 seed. Well, you got to play the play-in tournament now too.
Okay, right. So then be the 6, right? Or,
Actually, no. If they were the 8, so if they were the 8, they would play a tournament game against the 7, and if they beat the 7, then they would be the 7 seed. So yeah, either way.
or you can be the 6 and just assume that
Or just
seed
assume that
below you isn't going to make it that far.
Exactly. But yeah,
But there is something to that.
100%. I mean, they just ended a 13 game. What is it? 13 game losing streak.
Wow, they did. See, that's how I didn't even know that. I would have
Yeah,
celebrated that on Twitter if I knew that.
Well, Kevin Durant's out. That's the other thing.
The whole Porzingis thing is interesting. Where is he ever going to end up somewhere long term for and he's good enough, right?
Yeah, he's good enough. He'll be. I don't know what his future is in.
Well, the whole thing is him and Luka didn't get along, right?
I don't know his future in Washington because I don't know Beal's future in Washington. I feel like that Washington could be a blow up job. So if Beal leaves, there's no way Porzingis stays unless they make it Porzingis' team. But I don't think Luka and Porzingis worked anymore because first of all, Porzingis is a very injury prone player. It's very, very hard for him to stay healthy. And the Mavericks were looking for a guy who can stay healthy for the long term and fit a need. And Dinwiddie's a good player who can shoot the ball, and he's going to make an impact in Dallas. But yeah, I can see the Wizards making a little bit of a run in the playoffs because they got him, but it's not going to be anything too drastic. Because Beal's out for the year, so.
All right, so Celtics, big picture. Why didn't they go after a shooter?
Well, I mean, they kind of did. White fits the bill of exactly what they were looking for because they realized the last couple of weeks that their bread and butter is Tatum and Brown being the top guys with their defense backing them up. We felt a lot of opponents to under 100 points in the last on our current 9-game win streak. So when Brad Stevens looked at what we had and what we needed, he said, "All right, I'm going to get 2 defensive-minded guys in Tice and White that aren't going to mess up aren't going to screw with the starting lineup because the starting lineup is pretty solid. Those guys are White's the 6th man off the bench. Tice is maybe 8 or 9. You needed better bench fillers than Romeo Langford and Enes Freedom and Bruno Fernando. And I liked Schroeder. I liked Richardson, but I think they upgraded because they upgraded their defense. And I think that's their brand this year is defense first. And so I appreciate it. I just don't know how far it's going to get them.
All right. Can I add some context to the 9-game win streak for a second, though?
No, I know where you're going with this, but yeah.
Wizards.
No, you know what? I'm going to say this. We beat
Kings. We were at that game.
We beat Denver, Atlanta, and Philly in our last 3 games. That's all I'll say.
The Pelicans, shorthanded Heat. Charlotte, close. Detroit, Orlando. Nobody cares that you beat the Nets. They don't care in the regular season at all.
The Nets game was irrelevant. They didn't.
I don't know about the Denver context.
Denver's good.
I believe you, but
Atlanta's good.
Is Atlanta good?
Yep. I mean,
they got hot at the right time last year, which I guess is what the NBA is all about.
They should be good, but they kind of they've fallen a little. Well, Trae Young was hurt, so they're down in the standings, but if they're healthy, they're a good team. And Philly wasn't healthy either. But I understand what you're saying. I'm not like I just think we look better. We lost to a lot of those teams you named, we lost to about 3 months ago. So better than it was. And we're 6 right now. We're a game behind 5th, and we're 3.5 out of first place, which I wouldn't never thought was possible this time 2 months ago. So I'll take it.
I will stick with my NBA regular season. Doesn't matter for the time being. We got to run, but we just want to say huge shout out to Maria's Taqueria for providing us an extraordinary Super Bowl platter. Sunday for the game. That we didn't win the contest we were talking about, but they DM'd us Saturday night. They said, hey, we want to make a platter for you guys too. And we, of course, accepted that with open arms. Catherine over there was great. They just had a bunch of great, nice people. They even added some wings. The burritos were awesome. Quesadillas were awesome. A huge tray of chips and salsa with some guac, some jalapenos that kicked my butt as usual, but I'm always up for the challenge. So they even, they had a little they added an allergy accommodation as well for my friend. And oh my God, we filled the whole table.
Yeah, it was an excellent platter. We want to thank Maria's once again for hooking us up with that delicious, delicious Super Bowl food. Usually it's pizza and wings, but we were happy to switch it up this year for them. And we thank you again for thinking of OJ in the morning.
Thank you very much. 226 Tremont Street, right next to Emerson, downtown Boston. Go check them out. They're awesome. They're open late. One of a few Boston places that is open late. Like I said, Emerson baseball favorite. And we'll be back there again this week. And, we look forward to hopefully having a relationship with them in the future. So thanks so much, Maria's. We got to run. We have some other interviews to do, some other projects, some more work to do. Thanks so much for tuning in to episode 6 of OJ in the Morning. Shout out Maria's. MLB, figure it out. Pay your minor leaguers. Thank you, Tuukka Rask. Anything you got to add?
Nope. Celtics sign Isaiah Thomas. See ya.
And Johnny OJ, baby, in the house.